So who are you guys? What are you guys doing?
We're all law students.
We're part of the DBLSA community at Dow Law School. We're all here to support, just to talk about our community, to talk about what we do as Black law students, our day-to-day, how things go in law school, how to prepare for law school for future law students, things like that.
And how we got here.
Our journeys.
Our journeys of how we got here, who we want to become, and in the process of doing all that.
And just our day-to-day lifestyles in between as we navigate through this world of starting our legal careers.
Because there's a perception of us that we're robots. We don't have social lives. But that's
true.
Not the case. That's not the case.
Far and few between.
It depends on who you talk to.
I think there's a spectrum.
If you're in your first year, maybe, but it depends on who you talk to.
Okay, so what's the day-to-day like then? If that's the case, what's the day-to-day like?
I guess it depends on what year you're in necessarily, but like if you're in your first year, you kind of have a schedule, like they choose your schedule for you versus second and third year. You get to pick your schedule. You might have more free time in second and third year. So, but mainly say you have an 8:30, you'll go to your 8:30. If you have a class after that, you'll go to class after that, be done by 12:30. You'll probably go home, eat some lunch. Then you'll do some readings. And then you'll probably eat supper again, then you'll probably do some more readings depending on the classes you have. You might have assignment-based classes as well, so you might have to do some of those assignments or get ready for a major paper. A lot of times in second or third year you have to take at least one major paper. Some people prefer them over the exams, so the major papers usually require a lot of research because they're 25 pages minimum. So you got to usually have a lot of research. So if you want to get a good head start on that, you can start it early and start it in your first semester. Some of those classes started at the start of the semester. Some of those classes usually have presentations, so it kind of forces you to have some materials prepared anyways.
Now I'll give you a different perspective on what you might do in your third year of law school. Instead of going to an 8:30 a.m. class, you could show up to court instead in the morning. I'm currently in my last semester of law school and I'm working at the Dalhousie Legal Aid Clinic. So yesterday, actually, my day started off at the courthouse. It was youth court day, and so I was speaking in front of a judge about a half an hour after I was screened through the courtroom and spoke with my supervising lawyer. It's pretty fast paced. After that, we headed to the office, which is in the north end of Halifax, and many of us students get to interview and speak to real life clients. We're actually in charge of people's files and they're trusting us with their legal issues. So it's really cool to see how you can really tailor and customize your experience in your second and third year of law school and get a kickstart to actually practicing as a lawyer.
Now I'm a 1L.
What's 1L?
First year of law school, and I have a completely different life than these two here. You know, as a mother, it's also it's extra difficult. So it's like feels like you're drowning. I'm gonna be real. It feels like you're just trying to keep your head above water. You know, we don't know nothing. The exams, we've never written a law exam in our life. It's nothing like undergrad. It's like a whole different, it's a new ball game. Like, it's like you can't prepare for law school. I don't care who tells you that you can. Everyone that I've talked to, they were like, no, it's completely different. It's like learning a new language, and it is. You kind of have to honestly relax before you go into the law school, and that's exactly what I did. And so all I'm trying to do is just trying to get a solid study routine down, find the resources and support that are, you know, that that I'm equipped with as being an IB&M student, and try my best to go into the second semester and finish up first L, you know, as strong as I can. But it is really about kind of like learning your routine as a law student and not as an undergrad student, and learning just how to even like process the material. Because law books are just different. Law readings are different. You need to even know how to create a CANS. A CANS is, you guys could probably explain a CANS better.
Condensed annotated notes.
Yeah. Taking notes in law school is a practice of its own, so.
I can speak to that first year experience as well. I was also a parent in my first year. I had a 4-year-old son. it's just getting used to the schedule. Plus, I was also coaching football, doing a little bit of extracurricular out there, some volunteering. So just schedule-wise, not being able to choose my schedule, so I had to go to class when they gave me my schedule, what times or the courses was. I had to go to those classes, and then also having to get my son from daycare, even get him ready for daycare before I go to school, picking him up from daycare after school, cooking supper, being able to go to football practice. I usually had to take him with me to football practice. So things like first year can be a real big adjustment. You feel like it doesn't slow down. You don't really have the time to slow down. You're either doing your extracurriculars, volunteer work. A lot of us are trying to do volunteer work in first year, or you're, like I said, catering to my child. I know the experience might be different for someone that doesn't have a child, but usually first year is a grind. Usually you're just always on the go, always doing schoolwork. You're usually at school, or if you're at home, you're doing schoolwork.
And to add on to that with the parent thing, like I'm a single mother, but I grew up in the system as a child, in the child welfare system, and so I'm not too connected with my family, and so I've been already on my own for a very long time. So it's kind of like I had to be extra diligent with advocating for myself, but also it's like not only do I have to learn, I have to help my son because he's 7 years old. I have to help him do his homework when I get home, and doing everything on my own. Yeah, it's tough. It is nice because I am co-parenting with my son's father very well, and his family is very supportive, and so having 50-50, and a lot of people don't talk about this, but having a shared custody arrangement, I think that's the thing that is helping me be able to achieve my secondary education, because I don't have my son like 100% of the time, and so when I don't have my son, I absolutely try to get everything in, or everything done as much as I possibly can. I meal prep, just like, you're constantly doing things. Like if it's not like studying, you're doing laundry, you're cooking, and so I try to find and I also got ADHD as an adult, so I'm trying to find like shortcuts around things.
You already sound like a lawyer talking about custody.
Yeah, I've been the family.
Yeah.
So I gotta, with all the craziness you guys are saying, I'm hearing this, you gotta get up at 4, you gotta do this, you gotta go to court, you gotta defend. All of that stuff. Why? Why did you choose this?
For me, my dream to go to law school started from a young age. My father and I always dreamed of me becoming a lawyer, and he passed away when I was 11, and that inspired me then to go into healthcare. So I actually started university in pharmacy school, and 2 years into my program and dealing with so much discrimination and racism growing up, and then seeing the inequities further perpetuated within our healthcare system, and serving a lot of patients that were going through issues like addictions and that were closely linked with the criminal justice system, I realized that my calling was truly in the law, and that being an advocate within the healthcare system was also important, but I had to go further to address the problems I was seeing. And so I did go on to graduate as a pharmacist actually while I was concurrently in law school. So I really resonate with the comments that have already come up about having to grind, having to work and prioritize family, because family, work, and all of the other life obligations don't pause just because you're in law school. And I think all of us have very unique stories of our resilience and our grit, to see that light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how tough it may seem. I'll say for myself, I see my family that is, looking up and looking out for me to succeed and become this lawyer, and that just pushes me every day to wake up and keep going, no matter how tough it is, because I know I have to take care of my mom, my cousins, my aunts, and my uncles, and beyond my family is our entire community, which I consider you all to be my brothers and sisters. And so I want to be able to speak for all of us and be a testimony of what we are truly capable, even though the narrative might not have been written for us to be in these institutions, to be in these these programs, we are defying all of the myths. We are debunking them right now. And we are proof that no matter what background you come from, no matter what circumstances you're in, it is truly possible. And it's honestly, for me, what keeps me going every day is seeing the other people that have done it, that are doing it, and being here even just in this room and seeing the excellence of how you're a leader for your children, for your parents, for your community, and how we're gonna rise above and fight for justice within our communities in so many different ways. So that's truly what is my why and what has continued me to pursue this legal journey.
So, as someone brought up before, IB&M, could someone explain what IB&M is?
So IB&M is the Indigenous Black and Mi'kmaq program that Indigenous Black and Mi'kmaq initiative that they have at the law school for African Nova Scotians and Indigenous peoples of African Nova Scotian descent. So usually the process might be a little different from when you apply to law school outside of IB&M. We usually have to go through an interview process as well, plus our personal statement, our applications, our resumes, cover letter, all that. So usually in the interview process, it's set up to really ask you why you want to be a lawyer, why you choose this law school, what do you want to do as a lawyer, what areas of law you want to practice, what do you want to do in the community as well. So you go through that interview process, then hopefully when you get into law school, the programs just help to set up to give us resources, to give us help, make sure that we are taken care of in law school, make sure that we are successful in law school, because the biggest thing is they want to see us succeed, especially as Black lawyers, Black law students. They want to see us succeed and become Black lawyers in the community, as it's kind of underrepresented in the law community, the law profession of Black lawyers. So they would like to put us in there in the law school so that we can have that representation of Black lawyers, Black law students, and it gives the youth a person to look up to. Okay, now I want to do law as well. I never really had that growing up. I didn't know a lawyer personally. I didn't know any Black lawyers, to be honest. So coming into law school, seeing others like me, seeing Black lawyers that are ahead of me, actually working with Black lawyers that are from the same community as me, I see that the IB&M program has really done a great job at enabling us and empowering us to be able to become lawyers, to actually get a legal education and actually be successful in the legal profession.
And mind you, it's like a more holistic experience for applications. And like, you know, the average avenue to get into law school, IB&M breaks down a lot of those barriers in order to actually get into the law school. And so you don't have to there's not an extreme average, or I don't even think there's an average at all for the LSAT score, for instance. They base a lot of, the applicants' capabilities on experience. And if you don't have experience, your extracurriculars in school. So like if you are doing all of the above, if you're just a good student, okay, but they're also going to look more on the experience side of things, lived experience, for instance, or even just like work-life experience. There's also a few bit of mature students in the IB&M program, because some people are coming like straight from the field into school and not directly from school. So it's just, it's a great experience overall. And like I said, it breaks down those barriers so that you can get into the field and stay in the field. Yeah.
Yeah, and guys, feel free to just I want to ask a question though in terms of that, because did you want to say something though?
I just want to say that even though I wasn't in the IB&M program myself, I was and am a part of the Dalhousie Black Law Students Association, which is cross-linked with the IB&M program. And what I loved is that there was this sense of community and brother and sisterhood. And so I never felt alone when I was walking down the hallways. I never felt as though certain issues, microaggressions or racial comments that I may have heard were something new, or I wasn't shouldering these burdens alone. There was a group of people and a family, truly, that I could lean on. And that truly made my legal journey so much lighter, because it can be heavy day to day. Going through our family matters, going through the legal matters that we're dealing with. And so it's truly beautiful to know that we are part of something greater. And there's this community that is fostered within the law school for us.
I know it's been a minute, maybe not for you, but it's been a minute since you guys done the LSAT. Tell people what is in the LSAT, what does it stand for, how do you do it, is it required?
The LSAT is definitely one of the harder things that you're going to prepare for within law school. It's more about logical reasoning. So a lot of the time you might think you can go into the LSAT without studying. But me personally, I prepared for the LSAT for 6 months, and I usually tell people they should at least do 8 because I felt that 6 months even was enough. I had my son at the time; he was young; he was only like 1, so even just getting away from him and trying to study was hard. So that 6 months, it wasn't just straight 6 months of studying. So I definitely recommend getting that studying in because of the time constraints. You have time constraints on your questions. You're usually getting 27 questions, and you got like a minute per question. So a lot of the times with logical reasoning, you're getting your question, you have to figure out your answer based on what they're giving you, based on the prompt they're giving you. They're asking you a question, you have a bunch of answers, so you kind of have to use your brain capacity within a minute to answer 27 questions in 27 minutes. So it was definitely one of those experiences. It was like, oh, geez, that's what made me not like exams. I'm more of a person that takes papers. I enjoy papers more than exams, and the LSAT's a big reason why. The preparation for it was a challenge. It was a challenge. It was difficult, and it's probably one of the harder things of law school, and it's prior to even getting into law school, and it's cost $300 as well to take, so it got a fee on there as well. So I would say, yeah, if you're going to take the LSAT, definitely study for that.
Yeah, so I've taken it recently. Okay, so I think there's 3 sections, right?
Yeah.
There's your reading. What's that section? Reading comprehension.
Logical games, and
logical reasoning.
Yeah.
So one thing about the LSAT actually more recently is, which I am not a fan of because personally I was the best at logical games. Exactly. So for anybody that the logical games, I'm going to say it, it's the easiest thing to learn. It's the easiest thing to get points on. They took away logical games for many different reasons, but just so future students know, they're no longer here. I think I took my LSAT right before they got rid of them. And I'm going to be real, I didn't study long. I got ADHD and a child at home. I've co-founded an organization that started about 4 years ago, and so I'm a busy woman. And I was, very much so before I started law school, and so I've only studied for assault of 2 weeks. Look, I did have a plan. I had a plan to study for like 6 months. So okay. Smart. Yeah. Because I couldn't do 2 weeks. Because
I wouldn't have taken it.
No, but I went in with a plan. All right, I went in with a plan. I did logical games very well. But I got ADHD. So that's why the IB&M program is extremely an advantage, because they looked at my lived experience more than my grades. And you know what? Also, my grades were not the best in undergrad either. I started getting straight A's not until my last 2 years. And because I've had to juggle so many different things and, responsibilities in life, I had to go to family court multiple different times. I've had to juggle, holding down a full-time job for the last 3 to 4 years. I was constantly working multiple jobs throughout my undergrad. Add on to that, just simply balancing life as being a mother and a student. And so a lot of that, those different variables, it helps when you get into a program that's a more holistic approach. But either way, my reason for going into law school stems from, sorry, what camera are we looking at? This one here. It's they can't hear me.
All this. You trying to stifle my voice?
You just gotta put.
So what's next? Okay.
Put some bass in your voice.
So what's next after law school?
So for me, I'm planning to article at Nova Scotia Legal Aid. I'm really excited. I have a big passion for criminal law, but I'm also interested in how I can link my previous experiences in healthcare as a pharmacist with my legal education. So hopefully planning to also find ways to combine the knowledge of healthcare within, for example, prisons, where a lot of incarcerated individuals don't receive adequate health care and experience a lot of injustices once they're even sentenced and serving their time or waiting to receive their sentence.
So is there anything that you guys have any advice for people who are thinking about going to law school?
From everyone that I'm hearing, most people are not even, they don't even know what they want to practice when they get into law school. It's kind of like, for me, it was a path. So I knew that I needed law for what I want to do. But I also don't know if I actually want to practice family and criminal. I don't know if until I start practicing family and crim. And so I think it's just you learn as you go in law school and truly what you want to do. A lot of people from like what I'm hearing is that they just get into law school not really knowing. It's the same as undergrad.
I don't know, like being from experience, being third year, like it's 50-50. Usually you'll have a lot of corporate people, then you'll have your litigators. So usually the litigators are the people who go to court. A lot of the time people just have the perception that there's only crim litigation, but you'll have corporate litigation. There's a lot of different areas, wills and estates, tax, labor and employment's another area of, semi-area of litigation that you have in corporate. And they have, I work at McGinnis Cooper. I worked there throughout the summer. I'm going to be there articling as well. And I did a lot of land titles. Land titles is an initiative for African Nova Scotian communities. Right now they only have it open to 5 communities, but it's a way for African Nova Scotians to get their good land title so that when they pass it down to their families and their wills and stuff, it's actually being legally passed down. And when people do title searches, they'll see who actually owns the property. But so there's a lot of ways you can actually do litigation besides crim, and there's a lot of ways you can not do litigation. You can go the corporate route if you would like to. So there's a lot of different options besides crim is what you usually see on TV or like Suits. You see that you see, I guess, a little bit of corporate litigation, but a lot of the time you'll see criminal on TV. So there's a lot more you can do out there. There's a lot of good things. You can even do policy work. You can become a politician. There's a lot of things you can do with a law degree, so you're just not limited to just one thing. There's a lot of options you can do.
You don't even need to practice law.
You don't even need to.
I think it's also, oh, go on.
No, before we go though, I want to ask you guys, is there anything else that we think is important that we should have spoke about that we didn't get to speak about?
I think you guys probably talk more on this, but having a tough skin in law school and just being black in law school is a whole journey.
Yeah. I think it's important to know yourself. And I think that's a big thing that one person should do before you enter. Have a sense of identity. Know who you are. So that way when who you are is challenged by someone else, you're able to stand up and not compare yourself to others, because law school can be very competitive. At times it can feel cutthroat. People are trying to be the top in class. People are trying to get the best job, quote unquote. But truly it's about what you want to do with your career. You may not know what type of law you want to do, but you can know what type of person you want to be in this world. And so it's important to have that knowledge and reflection and continue to do self-reflections as you're going through law school to see what type of person am I today and who do I want to be tomorrow? What type of ways do I want to affect change? I agree that there are many ways that you can utilize this law degree, but there's also many ways that it can be used not as a tool to help, but rather as a weapon. So it's important that the privilege that you receive by obtaining this law degree is put towards the betterment of our society in whatever way that rings true for you. So knowing who you are, again, and what your values are and what you stand for and what is important to you, not important to others, but rather yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be the one with that legal career for maybe 30, 40, 50 years of your life, but you'll be the one that decides how you use it, and don't be influenced or intimidated by other people around you that may pressure you, that may make you feel like you are less than. Know that even though you may be in a space that wasn't created for you, that's even more of a reason why you have to be there, why your voice matters. Even though it's tried to be stifled down at any points, stay strong. Know when to lean back on your sources of support, whether that's your family, whether that's other people in law school, whether that's your church, whether that's whoever. It is so important. And again, know yourself, know what your values are, and stand 10 toes deep with them, because remember, whoever you're advocating for in the future, they're going to want to have an excellent lawyer that has those principles and values. So that's what would be
Perfect.
my advice.
I got one more thing.
And I too.
Really the biggest thing that you might not become aware of in law school is networking. All the studying, all the hours, all the tests, all the papers, all the assignments, all those things will be coming in handy, grades, things like that. But if you don't network, you don't put yourself out there. As lawyers, we're a business ourselves. We might work for a business, but we're also a business. We have an image. We have to promote our image. We have to be promotable. We have to be able to bring clientele in. So networking is a big thing. You should go to all those networking events. You should go talk to lawyers. You should email lawyers. Also with your peers. You never know what your peer can do later in life. You never know where your peer works. You can get those connections. A big thing is making those connections, whether it's just with your peers, whether it's a lawyer at a firm, whether it's some policy worker anywhere, a politician, government worker. You want to make that connection. Networking is huge. That's probably one of the biggest things they don't tell you about for law school. So you definitely want to network, so make sure you do that.
Okay. For how many?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay, so I just want to say really quickly, if you don't think you can get into law school, think again, because look, I grew up in the system. I didn't have I had no support. I thought I had a bad imposter syndrome, but again, I want to double down on the networking. I have become very well acquainted with policymakers, and by doing so, I've had the experience that I do to get in to law school.